All right, so I'm presuming that we're live right
Hello.
now. Hello, this is a bit of a surprise live stream because I just finished editing finally our cruise experience on the Royal Caribbean Independence of the Seas, and then I also wanted to put out our birthday trip to or your birthday trip to
Mhm.
Epcot, just sort of as like the end, the bookend of Brennan's birthday experience. So I have recorded some videos since our cruise last week, but I
Mhm.
wanted to do a live stream just to sort of talk about our experience for the most part. And now, having been on multiple different cruise lines, I thought this would just be sort of a fun, candid conversation, I guess, just to have, because after we did our Disney Cruise Line cruise, I sort of tried to talk about the differences between our Carnival Cruise Line experience and our Disney Cruise Line experience. And now we've been on a Royal Caribbean cruise together. I thought it'd be just fun just to talk about all of them. Now, Brendan has been on multiple cruises before.
Yeah, a lot of them were like as a child and a teenager, though. I think I've only been on maybe two as a young adult. So I've kind of just taken these last three cruises that we've done as like a more independent adult experience as a cruise, because before everything was very much catered through like my parents and my family. And these last three cruises were stuff that I got to do myself, like independently. Like I was the one doing the cruising and all of that stuff involved.
And
Hello, everybody that's here.
yes, so we have some people joining in the comments, and if you do have any questions at all about just our particular experiences on the cruise lines that we've gotten to go on this year. I've never been on a cruise before, and suddenly to be able to go on multiple cruises in the same year has been pretty exhilarating and exciting.
I got what I wanted. I knew Roy was going to like cruising, and I'm like, you just got to go on one and you will get bit by the bug. And you did. So now we just need to do a Norwegian.
And I don't anticipate going on cruises exclusively. I know that
this year was
a lot of people are going on
a
lot of cruises right now. Yeah, and it's mostly just been the celebratory aspects of just birthdays and just special occasions with our families respectively. And then just like the price has just lined up, and it's been just a pretty cool opportunity.
Yeah, because I think the Carnival cruise that we went on was kind of it was something that was planned with my family before the pandemic. So once we were able to go on our Carnival cruise, it was very much like a celebratory, like let's get out of the house kind of thing and be with family. And then the Disney Cruise Line was a celebration of your birthday. And then Royal Caribbean was a celebration of my birthday, because I liked how much fun we had on your birthday cruise. And I'm like, I want one myself.
And I was nervous about the Carnival cruise because, again, it was sort of planned and postponed, I think, a couple times.
Just gonna, now I can see everything.
We're trying to look at the comments at the same time. Yeah, but I was really nervous just because it was a very new experience for me, and to go with Brennan's family, her extended family, it ended up being a little bit more condensed of a family experience than what it originally was. And for it to be a 7-day cruise, it was intimidating, and it was something that definitely had me nervous. And then when it all worked out, when we were able to board Arlo and just get the respective time off, and it just seemed like it was actually going to happen, because there were times where we didn't know if we were going to do it, because a lot of Brennan's family decided to not go at a later time when it was just a little bit of a different cruising experience, when there were more available opportunities to do, because earlier on this year there wasn't a whole lot to do on some cruises, and so we weren't sure if we were going to go at all. And then we did, and I'm very glad that we did, because we had such a good time.
Yeah.
And then the Disney Cruise Line experience. So Disney was particular because I work for Disney, so I was able to get a discount on that particular cruise, which was very lucky, because Disney is the most expensive easily, and it actually brought it down to a more reasonable price to want to do. And then Royal Caribbean, I think, was just because of the amount of days that we decided to go. That's what made that the most affordable for us to do. And personally, I just wanted to see how much could be done and accomplished in the most minimal amount of days on a cruise ship, because now we've done a 7-day cruise, a 4-day cruise, and a 3-day cruise. And yeah. So now we've had like a nice kind of varied variety of experiences on different cruise lines for a different amount of days.
We have some categories of stuff that I had written down that we were going to talk about, just kind of like the 3 different ships overall, the types of recreational activities that they had to offer, the entertainment that they had to offer, the food offerings, and then the ports that we went to. And then I was just reading a couple questions that somebody else already asked about like what the difference between the 3 rooms were. And somebody did ask a good question about apprehensiveness, which you did have going into that. So we can talk about any apprehensions that you may have going into a cruise, maybe like seasickness or price. Maybe not price. I don't know if that's the best gauge because everyone does that stuff
I think so.
differently.
I mean, it's just really with any experience that you have to try to incorporate the cost versus of the value versus what you get out of the experience, because cruises are not cheap, you know, especially if you do decide to splurge a little bit and get a veranda. And I know that plenty of people splurge even more than that with the drink packages and cabanas and other experiences that you're able to take advantage of, which are, I'm sure, very much so worth it on the cruise. But for us in particular, we try to tier what's the most important to us versus what we're okay not doing, or at least making a mental note of something to come back into it next time, like the different excursions that they had in terms of how expensive that they were. So just hello to everybody from the various places. I think from Costa Rica, from the UK. I know that this was a very random live stream, but again, I kind of wanted to do it at the very just end of Brennan's overall birthday celebration, because I sort of did that with my birthday celebration. Like once all was said and done with my trip to on Disney Cruise Line, and then to Coronado Springs with my family, that's when I did my live stream, just kind of trying to talk it out. So I wanted to do that for all the cruise lines now with Brennan. Yeah. So it's more of a casual conversation.
Did you want to start with just talking about the ships overall?
Sure.
We can start with Carnival.
Okay. That's the first one that we did. So
I loved the Carnival Mardi Gras. And so I was a little bit nervous to talk about the differences between the 3, because the 3 ships that we did go on were in various stages. The Carnival is a brand new ship, and I was a little bit nervous to compare a brand new Carnival ship with a more dated Royal Caribbean ship. So we're just going to kind of base our opinions as objectively as possible.
I think the Independence of the Seas, I think it got a dry dock refurbishment sort of recently, but I think, I'm not totally sure, I should have looked at this, but I'm pretty positive that we've actually gone in descending order in terms of just how old the ship is.
Yeah. But the Carnival was, out of all of the ships that I've been on, was overwhelmingly packed with stuff to do. And it was just, there was so much to do on the Carnival Mardi Gras that even on a 7-day cruise that we took, it was not enough time to do all of the things and eat all of the food. It was crazy. And it was so crazy that I would go on it again just to hit up the stuff that I liked doing, and then doing the stuff that I didn't get to do, which I think is and like when we talk about attractions and like a ride and stuff, it's like, what's the re-rideability of the ride? Like, what's the re-rideability of the ship? It's got it.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think about what I'm trying to say. But I agree. I think that Carnival, a lot of people have a lot to say about Carnival in terms of, it's the party cruise line.
It is a party cruise line.
It's an older cruise line. There's not as much to do on Carnival. They don't have a private island, as far as I'm aware. And, so people are like, don't waste your time with Carnival. And so we sort of ruined ourselves with doing Carnival. Well, the newest ship on Carnival. Yeah. I mean, in terms of just like, that was a very high bar to calibrate and to accommodate in terms of just comparatively to other cruise lines. But Carnival, I think, is still the Mardi Gras. And this is probably just because it's the newest ship. I think it was still my favorite ship out of all the ships that we've done. And what's going to be, so I guess just to sort of get this out of the way, what I think is the most unpopular opinion, and I think that's the most interesting aspect of this conversation, Disney Cruise Line, I think, was at the bottom of my list.
Really? Even below Royal?
I think so.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to like sensationalize that. I'm not trying to make it more than it is, because it was still a fantastic ship to cruise on. We still had like a phenomenal time. We had so much fun. I got to go with my family. I've never been on a cruise with my family. My family hasn't been on a cruise in decades. And So to be able to go on that ship was just incredible. And now it's not
Mhm.
even in Port Canaveral anymore. Now it's docked in Miami. And so just to be able to do that was just a pleasant experience and sort of a last minute surprise, as was the Royal Caribbean cruise.
Mhm.
But I think it's because, and I talked about this like at the very end of our like debarkation video, where I'm a very active person. I like to use my time as much as possible. I enjoy relaxing, but I also regret not taking advantage of experiences if they're presented to me.
Mhm.
So I like to go to the pool. I like to go to the water slides. I like to walk around and just take advantage of as much as possible. If I could get into every single hot tub and eat at every available place to eat at, then that to me is what makes the experience worth it. So just with Disney, there wasn't a lot to do. And
I do want to say that I think we're very open-minded with cruise lines compared to a lot of people who are avid cruisers. I think a lot of people tend to have their home cruise line or like their favorite cruise line where it's just like, this is the one I prefer. This is the one that I will usually choose to go on every single time if it's available.
which is,
But
there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, there's not, but I think we've been able to identify like positives out of all three of them so far that to me personally makes me feel excited about having just like an ever-changing Rolodex of like what kind of cruise line I might be in the mood for. I don't think the Disney cruise line was at the very top of my list either, but I can't say that I would never go on another Disney cruise line again.
Oh,
The things that
absolutely.
I loved about the Disney cruise line is they're immaculately clean. They're beautiful, they're clean. Everything, like the service is like wonderful. And I think that's the thing that keeps people going back. I think that was probably by far my most favorite entertainment offering. And that is one of the things that would get me to go back on a Disney cruise line. And then their
Absolutely.
private island offering, but there were some things that I didn't care for, which I mean, we can talk about in the rest of the categories that we were going to go on, but Royal Caribbean was also really fun. Like it wasn't as much of a party atmosphere, but it was just very active. Like there was stuff to do. I felt like we were more in tune with our cruise director than we were on the Disney Dream. And I thought we were more in tune with our cruise director on the Carnival Mardi Gras. But I don't really remember our cruise director on the Disney Dream.
And not that that's like a make or break situation for the cruise.
No. Like I said, it's all about like what you prefer in a cruise line. Like the stuff that I prefer in a cruise line is not going to be the same thing that you prefer in a cruise line. So that's why that's part of like what our discussion is.
Right. So I wish that there was more to do on the Disney Cruise Line. It seems like the general format of a Disney Cruise Line ship is one or two slides, a few pools, and then a splash pad, and that's sort of it as far as recreation. I think on the Disney Wish they have a different sort of like multi-purpose activity area, so I'm excited about seeing that without a doubt. But just on Carnival, on Royal Caribbean, just the high ropes courses, the miniature golf, which Disney did have actually.
Yeah.
The climbing wall, the jump pads, the flow rider, the water slides. I'm sort of just combining aspects of both of those cruise lines. But there was just so much to do, and even well into the early hours of the morning, where on Disney it seemed like the activities sort of stopped like pretty early in the evening. And if you weren't really into meeting Disney characters, or if you weren't really into doing trivia or games, then there wasn't a lot to just do. And that's what I really wanted to take advantage
somebody
of.
said, I guess the Disney cruises are more kid oriented, which I actually was blown away by the fact that it did not feel like it was kid oriented. Like I thought I was going to step onto a theme park on the seas, and it wasn't like that at all. Like they kept, I don't want to say this in a mean way, but they kept the kids pretty quarantined to a certain level where all the kid activities were. And everything that you would expect the kids to be around, like the character meet and greets and stuff, it was it was pretty well organized, and I thought it was like a pretty good offering for all ages. Like, I was very impressed that it didn't feel like I was being overrun by children on the Disney Cruise Line. It was great.
I thought that the Royal Caribbean cruise honestly seemed more kid oriented.
Yeah.
In my opinion, just due to the splash pad and the water play area and the.
Oh, Kelly's here. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. Kelly and Jorge are our friends. Yay. Yeah, but the arcade and the just like the different areas where kids could go to just sort of play the scavenger hunts. There was a lot. There was like a lot for kids on the Royal Caribbean ship, which I was just like very impressed by. And the characters are a massive impact from Disney. Like just like the weights of just Disney's brand and getting to meet the princesses and Mickey and Minnie and all of those characters and I think it was like the characters and the entertainment that just really carried Disney Cruise Line. Their private island was also definitely top tier.
Yeah.
That was, I think, because Carnival didn't even have an island, and Royal Caribbean they did have an island, but it was expensive. There was pretty much everything to do on the island was an upcharge.
Yeah,
which was definitely a little bit disappointing. Somebody did ask about just like the price. I think of the of I forget like the name of the water park, but the water park, I think it was like $75, $80 per person of an upcharge.
Expensive, everything.
And then the zip line, which was I know that it was because I was so surprised by it. It was $110 per person to do the zip line, which that was like
a punch in the gut for us because like we went to, I forget which port it was when we did our Carnival cruise, but we did a zip line with my parents and it was like $20 each person, unlimited zip line.
Yeah, so I went back and did it again.
To be fair, it was one zip line, and the one on Coco Cay was it kind of did a square around the whole island. So it should have been worth more than the $20 unlimited on the port from our Carnival cruise, but I still thought it was a bit overpriced for what it was.
Right. And then the snorkel renting gear. So unless I know I said that weird, unless I misinterpreted it, because if you watch the video, there were also people that were like trying to get refunds because they were just getting stung by jellyfish. People went out for 2 minutes and then came back because they got stung so many times and they couldn't handle it. So that was definitely a big deterrent for us wanting to do the snorkeling. But we did bring our own snorkel gear. I don't think that flippers were required, but from what I understood, the life vests were required. And if you wanted to rent full gear, it was over $40. And then if you wanted to rent partial gear, it was going to be about $20. So it was going to be over $20 per person just to rent a vest and flippers. When I'm pretty sure on Castaway Cay, I think that
we got the vest for free.
The vest was free, like the life vest was free, but we would have had to pay for it on Coco Cay.
Yeah,
I think.
I want to say that if you watch the vlogs, we didn't do the snorkeling there. And we did say that a part of it was the price. But I think personally for me, it was the price mixed with the fact that it was like jellyfish season and we were getting like really deterred by everybody coming out of the ocean. I think if there wasn't a jellyfish problem, I would have paid for it because I really liked the snorkeling in Castaway Cay.
Well, I like watched other people's snorkeling videos on Coco Cay and it seemed like just a variant of just whatever time of the year it was. It seems like jellyfish were always prevalent.
Oh, people were coming out of the ocean with just like lacerations.
I think it's they had a purple flag flying, so I know that it was actually jellyfish season.
Yeah,
and it's a bummer because I saw other people's like GoPro video of like what you could snorkel and see out in that particular area of Chill Island. I think on Coco Cay, and it was like, oh man, I wanted to see that, but I also didn't want to, pay a lot of money and then kind of get stung and have it not be worth it. They even had to bring like I think it was a little boy back to the ship because he got stung so bad and he had to go to like the medical area on the ship.
Yeah. And I don't want this to come off as like us bashing anything Royal Caribbean. This was not anything against Royal Caribbean. This was all strictly, in my opinion, just circumstantial. Like, this is not me saying like, oh, this is a Royal Caribbean negative for me. Like, I don't think so. I would definitely go back to that island and, when it's not jellyfish season, go snorkeling at that price.
Well, it's always something to consider where the overall price can absorb the costs of the smaller activities.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily fair to be like, well, on Disney Cruise Line, the vest was free, even though the cruise itself was over 3 times as expensive.
Yeah.
It's like, that does sound pretentious, where it's like, well, of course the vest is free because the cruise is so much more expensive. So if the cruise is less expensive, why wouldn't they charge a little bit to just have extra activities and excursions for you to pay for? So I don't know. It shouldn't come down to the price of the excursions, because we ultimately still had a fantastic time in Coco Cay.
And
we just wanted to get into the water.
Go back and do another Royal Caribbean.
We got a couple drinks from the bars there, just getting to explore. We didn't need to go to the water park. We didn't need to go up in the hot air balloon or snorkel on that particular side of the island. And just like in Castaway Cay, where we didn't even make it over to the adult beach in Castaway Cay, it's nice to have a reason to go back to these places, because you don't want to do everything on a ship. You don't want to go everywhere on, a private island, or what's the point of going back?
And I think we can talk more about the private island stuff when we talk more about like the ports and stuff, but we can move on, unless you have more to say about the 3 ships, or if anybody had any other questions about the 3 ships, we can maybe start talking about the recreations that they had in all 3.
Yeah, I think that kind of mostly covers it, and does kind of lead into the recreation. Just the ships themselves. The Carnival was the Carnival Mardi Gras was the newest, and then I think that the Disney Dream was the next newest, and then the oldest would have been the Royal Caribbean.
Did you want to talk about the rooms really quick? I don't have like a lot to say about the rooms. I thought the rooms, in my opinion, were all pretty level with each other. I think the Royal had that like really spacious living room area, and I think the Mardi Gras was maybe our smallest room, because Disney gave us that luxury of the 2 bathroom situation.
Right.
And then the small like cabin bathroom on the Royal Caribbean was made up for the large living room space. So I think they all like kind of evened themselves out. I don't think one stood out to me more than the other, or one was like worse than any of the other ones.
I think that I liked the space the most on Royal Caribbean, on the Independence of the Seas. And I think the Disney Dream, I think that just like the layout of that room and just how it felt newer, it felt nicer. I did appreciate that sort of a lot.
Sorry,
and the Carnival Mardi Gras.
I'm writing down questions that people are asking that I think are good.
I'm trying to remember just the Carnival Mardi Gras. I think that one was probably my least favorite. I think that one definitely had the least amount of space. The bathroom, I feel like, was the smallest.
I didn't like the shower on the Royal Caribbean.
The shower was weird.
I had more space on our.
It was like a teleportation tube where you had to like shut it. I don't know. I think it also depends on which direction that you're facing, and that was a concern that I had in terms of my like apprehensions in terms of getting seasick potentially. Like, just which direction is the bed facing? Am I going with or against the movement of the ship? And is the bed on the side of where the veranda is, or is it flipped? Is it on the other side? And like the bed is what you encounter first when you walk into the room, and then on the other side of the bed is the couch and the veranda. So those were all different, and I can't say that I liked one more than the other, because again, it was challenging to get around the bed and then get out onto the veranda, but then I also didn't know if I liked the bed just right there at the very entrance of the room, then having to get around the bed to get to the couch. So it was different, and I feel like that's going to be different with every cruise line. But
yeah, and you've never experienced an interior cabin room, but I have, and I think moving forward as an adult, I think I would prefer to just stick with verandas, just because it's there if you get sick. It's nice to have like a fresh breeze. It's nice to have like perspective of like what you're doing, where you're going, like natural sunlight. And I just remember having an interior cabin as like a teenager, and it doesn't go well for your sleep schedule. Like, I remember I would accidentally sleep in so late in an interior cabin because there's no natural lighting to wake you up. So if that's something that you feel like you might struggle with, I personally think that that's worth the extra bucks for. But if your sleeping conditions aren't particular, like I think I have very particular sleeping conditions. If you're not picky about that, an interior will save you a lot of money.
That's
but
true.
I
It's
do
just
think if you're willing to spend the money on a veranda, it is worth it.
it just it depends where you want to allocate your particular budget for that cruise, I guess. If I don't think we've talked about it because like clearly we have drinks on these cruises, and but just in terms of what the price of like a drink package would be, we would have had to just get so many drinks every single day just to break even with that. And we are not that intensive of drinkers.
No.
It has to be a casual thing for us. And, my limit is like 2 to 3 to maybe 4.
Yeah. And I'm more of a drinker. Like I'm more of a drinker than Roy. And I've done the math on all of the drink packages, and it's just not possible. Like as somebody who does drink more,
it's possible. I'm sure
some people not possible for me.
Definitely make it possible.
Like as someone that drinks more than you, it's still like unfathomable, like how many drinks you have to have. Like I tried to do the math for a drink package on all 3, and it ranges from, to make it worth it, you have to have between like 8 to 15 drinks a day on the ship alone. And so this doesn't count towards any drinks that you might have on the ports at all. Like this is just on the ship alone.
I think it would have been included on like the like
on the private
islands.
Yeah, but it's not possible. Like as much as you guys probably saw that I enjoyed myself on the cruise, I cannot drink that much.
But it's an option, right?
Yeah.
But
if you enjoy that much, because my cousin did the drink package on the Carnival and she took advantage of it. Like she got her money's worth and she did it really well. She did it strategically. And if you can handle more alcohol than we can, like it is worth the money.
It's not that I don't think we can not handle alcohol. I think it's just if you commit to the drink package and you want to get your money's worth out of it, then you're probably going to be doing related and relevant activities that allow you and permit you to enjoy that alcohol. So you will be getting drinks and then just sitting in the jacuzzi or just, sitting on a, by the pool on a chair. But, again, I want to go and do activities and I want to walk around and I want to explore. And it's challenging to do that while plastered, There was a day where I think I was our Nassau day, I think, on Carnival Cruise Line, where like I had a few too many drinks. I'm not gonna lie. And then I got back on the ship and I was just trying to like go about my business. And I felt like I was just like trying to wade through Jello almost, just mentally trying to like orient myself on this ship and trying to just like continue enjoying my time.
Gonna go back and watch those videos now to try and find when you were.
It was just, a little bit tipsy. It's fine. We can have a good time on a cruise. But just like instances like that, and it's not like I don't want to enjoy those, experiences, but it's I was not sloshed. I was sloshed a little bit.
Okay, I'm gonna save your image here a little bit. I disappeared that day because I went back to the room and slept for hours because I had more.
And that's cruising. Cruising is just having drinks, enjoying your time, riding water slides, getting into the pool. It is what you make it, obviously, and that's I think what has been the greatest opportunity that's been presented. And it's not even it's like a challenge at all. It's because I want to try to do as much as possible. I don't snuff my nose at alcohol or excursions or fancy dining experiences or kids recreation even, or any other types of activities catered towards younger people on the ship. I want to do all of it. I want to do it all,
Okay, well,
I want to explore the ship and I want to ride the water slides and go through the kids obstacle course, but then I want to have some drinks and then I want to go and eat at a fancy sit down dining restaurant.
Yeah. So speaking of stuff to do, I think, and again, this is kind of what I was saying earlier. Like, I don't want to like super compare the two ships, like Royal and Carnival, where Royal was like a more dated ship and Carnival was a brand newer or more new ship. But there was a lot of recreation to do on the Carnival. They had their sea coaster. They had their like water park area. They had just all of this recreational stuff.
high ropes
to do.
course, the
high
basketball
ropes
court.
course. How did I forget the high ropes course? That was probably like one of the highlights of that ship for me, was the high ropes course.
Absolutely. It was really going onto the top deck of the Mardi Gras
Mm-hmm.
and then just seeing all of those activities in the back of the ship and just seeing it all and then being like, I can do this. I can definitely enjoy cruising and then looking around and just seeing the multiple pools on different levels of the deck and the of the various decks, and then
They did have a lot of pools.
mini golf.
What else was there to do on the Carnival besides eat?
The entertainment was definitely one of the lower tiered aspects of it. It was sort of one of those experiences that if you happened upon it when you walked past it when it was happening in the like in the main section of the ship.
Yeah, the Carnival didn't have a main atrium area like the Disney Cruise Line did, but their main like level had a stage, and they just had various entertainment acts that would play throughout the days and the nights. And like you said, it was just something that you happened to stumble upon, and it was always a very popular lounge. Like there was a bar there and people would just get their drink, and
they did have an
lounge.
auditorium too.
Yeah,
and they
had
still had some shows there, which that was fun to see. And then Royal Caribbean had the rock climbing wall. They also had basketball. They had miniature golf. They had this like climbing course that I got to do.
And then they had the jump.
It was called the sky pad, but it was like a trampoline bungee jump.
Yeah.
And then the water slides and the flow rider, which were all different opportunities to have. Both of those cruise lines had arcades. So that was pretty cool. And then, Disney didn't, other than a mini golf course, they didn't really have any of that. Yes, they did have the aqueduct. But that's the thing. They have like one major slide, it seems, and then they have one like smaller slide, and then that's sort of it. I want to try to scroll up and look at some questions here.
I don't know if this is considered more entertainment or recreation, but both Carnival and Royal Caribbean had activities throughout the cruise during the day and at night that you can do to kind of like pass your time. Like there were piano bars that you can go to. There were comedy shows that you could go to. On Royal, there was an ice skating show. And then on our last night, we were able to go ice skating. Whereas on the Disney Cruise Line, to me, it felt like the only offering that they had other than the water slide on the top deck was just trivia. And we're not big trivia people, but
they had other like little shows. They had the animation class too.
They did have the animation class, which was nice.
The characters, which was again, and I think we had a question about just like the characters in particular. Yeah. That was cool. It was always nice just to see characters to meet, to get quick pictures with, selfies, and just seeing the variety of characters that they did have both on the ship and on Castaway Cay. I guess what was sort of surprising, which did I interrupt you? I'm sorry if you were going somewhere with that.
You might have, but now I don't remember what
Whoopsies.
it was. Oh, I was just going to say that it just felt like it was mostly trivia. And then it felt like everything shut down by 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And then everything was just closed. It was almost as if the Disney Cruise Line was like, hey, it's bedtime. And I didn't like that.
I think that the amount of time that we spent on the ship was a good amount of time because it was a 4-day cruise and we got to explore the ship. We got to see every single show. We got to meet all the characters, most of the characters that we wanted to meet. And we experienced our port days and our Castaway Cay day. And it was nice. It was a pretty good time spent, I think. I didn't have any major regrets getting off of that ship that we didn't get to do or go to a particular place.
Yeah.
We got to eat at all of the dining experiences.
We can't forget Pirate Night and the fact that they have fireworks. I think that is very notable on Disney that they have that. I think even though Pirate Night is very much catered towards children, if you're going on a Disney Cruise Line as an adult, like Pirate Night is really fun and really cute. And then just to be able to see fireworks off of the ship, like that's so cool.
But that's what I was actually going to say is that Disney Cruise Line almost didn't feel very Disney to me.
Really? I was actually going to say the opposite.
The ship
I was going to
itself.
say that I feel like they did a great job of making it feel like Disney, but not a theme park.
It just, if you take away the Disney characters, then what's very Disney about a Disney Cruise Line?
I guess I appreciated that mixture where it's like, here's a cruise line, but here's a little bit of Disney, so you feel like it's Disney.
Right,
I
but
liked it like
just
that.
the ship itself didn't feel like Disney. It felt like a
Yeah.
very luxurious, well-designed, beautiful interior, new ship
Yeah.
with Disney characters on it. Yes. Somebody asked, not going to be able to get every question, so I'm sorry about that, just because as we're just bouncing back and forth.
Yeah.
Was there anything on any of the ships that you'd been on in specific that wasn't as appealing, that we had high expectations for?
That was one of the questions I had written down to answer later.
Do you have an answer?
I think I already covered it with the Disney. I think I had high expectations for the Disney Cruise Line because everyone is saying, like, once you go Disney, you never go back. But I was disappointed with the lack of things to do.
Okay.
I think that was it. Sorry, I was still trying to think as well.
I probably should have gone back to this question when I actually had an answer and prepared for it. I think I do agree. I think that Disney overall didn't meet my full expectations in terms of just what there was just to do and experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really have a lot of expectations for the other cruise lines because it was just Carnival. Again, it wasn't even something that I partook in planning. It was something that I was invited to do.
Yeah.
And I'd never been on a cruise ship before at all. I didn't even really know what cruise ship we were going on until we made it to the port. And it was this huge realization of, oh, this is that cruise ship that I heard about that had the roller coaster on it. That's cool.
Yeah. And
so there weren't really any expectations.
And in Disney's defense, you can't say this because you hadn't been on the other cruise lines, but I had been on other cruise lines before. So in Disney's defense, the Disney Cruise Line was the first cruise line that I had never been on before. So I think it was the only thing I could have expectations for because I'd already experienced other cruise lines.
Right.
So
I think just sort of comparatively with the experiences that I had already had on the other cruise lines, I think that the dining experience on the Royal Caribbean was definitely a little bit of a letdown.
Food yet.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm talking about the.
Should we move on to food?
I don't know. I'm just trying to see if there's
some keep us
questions.
Organized here.
People are just asking about like the balcony too and the drink package.
Yeah, the stuff situation. That we were going to talk about next is entertainment and then food and then the different ports. And then we kind of answered the expectations one.
I'm not against having an interior room. Like if that, because I haven't spent a lot of time in the room because whenever I wake up, I'm immediately outside. I immediately want to go out to the deck and I want to watch the sunrise, or I want to watch us pull into a port, or I want to go to breakfast. I'm excited to start the day.
I'm the high maintenance one when it comes to my sleep.
But I do like the aspect of just at least having I like being able to go outside. I like being able to go out onto the balcony and just sort of sit there.
Really came in our favor when we were feeling a little bit sick, whether it was maybe a little bit too much to drink or if it was like legitimate like seasickness. It was really nice to have that there, to have that fresh air blowing on your face,
which really did not happen.
We only got really seasick on the Carnival.
For me, that was just
feel anything on the Disney or the Royal.
My only time on the Carnival that I really got like I felt like I was a little seasick was just that first day. And that was because the entire day had just been spent walking around the ship, getting used to it, doing like various recreation. And then at the very end of the day, that's when we just sat down at our dining room table. And that was like the first point that I just stopped moving.
And you were sitting, like we were facing the window that was at the very back of the ship. And you were like facing it, watching us go this way. And it was like really disorienting to you.
Yeah, but it was just like, again, just like actually stopping and sitting down and then actually feeling like the rocking of the ship. And then at that point, having not had dinner yet, which are just all these different combinations of factors that contribute to that. But I didn't even use like the ear patch on the Royal Caribbean cruise or any Dramamine or anything like that. I don't think you used
it on Disney either.
I did on Disney.
Maybe the first night, I think. And then I think you took it off.
The ear patch?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, so I'm scrolling back down to see any other questions. So one aspect about all of these cruises, these were all Bahama cruises.
Yeah.
We went to Nassau every single time, which I was very well aware of when we booked that cruise. It's just in terms of like the time frame that we had and like the budget that we wanted to allocate towards.
Well, it's also
that
our
cruise.
port. Like when we port out of Port Canaveral, like it's on the way to most things. So a Bahamian cruise line is pretty common.
Right, but there are other like Western Caribbean cruises that we could have taken to different excursions, but just those are going to be a bit longer. Those would have been like 7-day commitments. And I don't know, just I've been wanting to try out different cruise lines, but do it in certain like increments where we're able to try more, if that makes sense. Like I'd rather do 2 different cruise lines for 3 or 4 days than 1 cruise line for a week.
I want to go on an Alaskan cruise.
But yeah, we do want to definitely do
We're talking about
a longer cruise.
We're talking about getting the families together, going on an Alaskan cruise.
It could happen
a while from now.
I hope, because both of our families really want to go to Alaska. So that for me, I think is I want to go different places. Nothing against Nassau.
No, it was just we overdid it.
Which like Nassau, I know that a lot of people just don't get off of the ship, and that was kind of a discussion that we had a little bit for this most recent cruise, only having 3 days to be on the Independence of the Seas, and just that discussion of do we just stay on the ship and not go to Nassau at all?
Yeah.
But I just felt like it would have been a little pretentious to just stay on the ship. Just I don't want to go somewhere and then it's like going to a national park, but then just like sitting in the parking lot in the car. It's like, no, you're there. At least go give it the time of day, at least for like a little bit. That's what I wanted to do.
We're fully aware that there's the options of excursions. Like we did go to Pearl Island last time, but I know that a lot of people like Nassau for the excursions that they offer. So I'm like fully aware that we keep opting out of that as an option. So that's something that we can still explore later and maybe give us more of a reason. But I do I enjoy Senior Frogs. My mom and I went one year and we found this like adorable cafe. I think it's called Athena's. They had like the best conch fritters there I've ever had. And so like there's like little hole in the wall restaurants that are really nice to go to if you want to do that as well. And then I wish we would have had more time on Pearl Island because there was still much more to explore there. But that's something that I would try again.
No, it was cool. And I like that we've had this sort of where our first time to Nassau, we walked around, we explored a little bit, got some drinks. Then the next time we did an excursion, got to go snorkeling. And then the next trip, again, we walked around, explored a little bit we
did the best of both worlds. That was our thing, is we wanted to take the day to do stuff on the ship because we didn't have an at-sea day for the Royal Caribbean one. So we wanted to take the Nassau port as part of our day at sea. So that was the day that we did all of the recreational stuff. Like that was the day we did the rock climbing and the mini golf and everything. And then we decided to get off of the port because if I was really impressed to see that from the time that we were last at Bahamas or at Nassau to now, they're like really starting to get in the grit of their rebuilding process, which like they've started to add these like awnings on the walkway and everything. And once they're done with their rebuilding project, it's going to look beautiful.
And that's what I'm excited
like
about.
Really proud and like happy of them. Like they're getting that opportunity to rebuilding that stuff. And I think I brought that up last time is like, even though we got off the port to like get drinks and souvenirs and stuff, I still wanted to be able to support the economy in a way so that I can continue to be proud of them for being able to like rebuild and everything. And I don't want to be that person that stays on the ship and then doesn't support the economy and then also complain that there's nothing to do at Nassau. Like they are in the process of rebuilding.
Right. And I know that like purchasing a stuffed turtle and a tie-dye shirt doesn't necessarily save the economy or contribute in any like major financial way, but just to go there and to actually go there, that was my like main I guess prerogative, I suppose. I wanted to say hello to the Crystal Palace. She is a fellow vlogger. I met her at Universal a few weeks ago.
Hello.
So hello. So let's see. We're getting some questions about just like
Are we caught up?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
we're getting some questions just about the general pricing. What are we still talking about technically?
We were trying to move into recreations, and then we got off topic.
Did we finish talking about entertainment, or was that?
We didn't even get to
We
entertainment.
did not get to entertainment yet.
We've been like dabbling in all of the things
Well,
a little bit.
That's hard because like I wanted this to be like a casual just conversation, but we sort of needed to have like
I tried to make a
structure
list to keep us on
so we
track.
could try to be on track. Because I know, as with every live stream, whenever we conclude it, I always like hit end live stream and I'm like, I didn't mention this one aspect whatsoever. Hello to Gavin.
Hi, Gavin.
Our biggest fan.
The biggest fan.
Wow. I wonder how tall he is.
Okay.
I don't know. It's terrible.
The littlest, biggest fan.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, well, we did kind of talk recreation because we were finishing that up, I think. And then we were getting ready to talk entertainment because we were talking about the stuff to do on Royal and Carnival and the stuff that I felt that we didn't get to do on Disney. And then now we can talk about it.
There was Shuffleboard on Disney.
There's Shuffleboard on every cruise line.
I know. Which I don't know if that like is like a contributing reinforcement to the statement where just if you're doing Shuffleboard to just try to find activities to do, then maybe there's not a lot of activities to do. I really don't want to like put Disney down because again, it's so many people's favorite cruise line. So many people
positives to say on the other ones.
Yeah,
no. Other categories.
I guess that's the hard thing to sort of elaborate on is that we're just kind of we had all positive experiences. And we're just trying to juggle which one was the most positive and which one was just the least positive. Even that doesn't make a lot of sense.
In the sake of staying on track with the list and moving into positive things about Disney Cruise Line.
Okay.
Entertainment. I think the shows on the Disney Cruise Line is one of the sole contributors of why I would go back on a Disney Cruise Line ship.
Okay.
I loved it was pretty much Broadway quality entertainment to me. I was obsessed with the Beauty and the Beast show, and I loved the little productions that they put on. The Golden Mickeys was so cute, and I would watch it again. Well, we kind of did watch it again because we got interrupted the first night, and I still loved it just as much. I thought that the Carnival entertainment was fun. I would watch it again, and I felt the same about Royal Caribbean. Actually, you know what? I think Carnival was better than the Royal Caribbean one, in my opinion.
Wait, for what?
For entertainment, like the shows that we saw.
Carnival was better than Royal Caribbean?
Yeah. Because we saw the ice skating, which I think was the best one. We saw the magician or the illusionist.
He was kind of a jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades. And then Grease. I thought Grease was cool, but
you think that Carnival was better than?
I thought the Carnival stuff was better. I thought it was more fun. I don't want to say they had more because we were on it longer, but I liked the quality of it better. I think Disney had the best entertainment quality when it came to theater shows.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's definitely Disney's for me. Like not that it needs like a saving grace, but just the entertainment value that they had on board. That was easily unmatched. It had Broadway caliber production.
Yeah.
Shows.
I love the shows so much that I'm in this like collector's mindset where it's like I want to experience all the different shows that they offer on the Disney Cruise Lines. I want to collect them all. I want to see Aladdin and Frozen, and I want to see it all.
So yeah, just that combined with the characters, with the on-deck parties that they had, in addition to the fireworks. Like Disney easily took it with their entertainment, without a doubt. And
I thought Pirate Night was absolutely adorable. I was comforted by the amount of characters that were roaming the ship on the Disney Cruise Line. Like it felt like home. It felt comforting, like to get to see Mickey and Minnie in that environment. Like it was just adorable to me. I liked seeing your mom like light up when she saw the characters too. Like everything was just cute and I liked it.
I agree. It's hard to think back about the Carnival entertainment because that was a while ago. Because we went on the Carnival cruise at the end of February, and then we went on the Disney cruise in May, and then we just went on this one in September. So just trying to, and that's why I sort of wanted to try to talk about this, although it was still sort of somewhat fresh, at least coming off of the most recent cruise.
On Carnival, they had that like 60s and 70s through the 60s and 70s music show.
Mm-hmm.
And then that same cast did kind of like a non-Disney version of the Golden Mickeys, where it wasn't about Disney characters and movies and stuff, but it was like very Hollywood, and it was people showing off their singing and dancing and acting prowess, and I enjoyed it. One of the cool things in their atrium, not atrium, where they had the big stage, like the open stage lounge, they were practicing the entire cruise for this massive like Vegas inspired show. And so one of the cool things was, because the stage was open, you got to see the rehearsal every single day. So it was like this collective group experience of everybody on the ship, where everyone every single day was watching their rehearsal process. And then the last night of the cruise was everybody finally getting to see the show that they had been rehearsing all week for. So it was just this great kickoff to the end of the cruise.
I agree. I feel like I saw this like when I compared the entertainment of just Carnival to Disney, and I don't think that's like changed much for me personally when I did like my last live stream. But I agree. I think that just Disney just did such a phenomenal job with their entertainments, and again, none of the others did not have as
they were all
spectacular
great. I just
productions.
don't think you can beat Disney.
Right. And that could just be the familiarity of the shows at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's like what a major draw is of the Disney Cruise Line entertainment, is just that it's familiar and that it's for people like us that enjoy theme parks. Yeah, I don't know if there's much to really else say about entertainment, because other than saying Disney was easily the best, that's not even like a comparison. But at the same time, the other ones were also still very good. What's kind of cool is that on the other cruise lines, I don't think they were like recording was allowed, but in the Royal Caribbean, I was at least able to record on those. They just pretty much just didn't want people to have like pictures being taken or anything like that. Like flash photography was a no-go. I don't know what you're doing right now. I'm confused.
Sorry, I was just trying to go through everything. Are we still recording? Did I mess everything up?
No, we're totally fine. Brandon's just scrolling through the comments right now. So what are we talking about next? What was after entertainment? Just food?
I think it was food. Food.
So, food.
We didn't really eat anything on any of the cruises. I don't think that was something we did.
So food is included in the price of the cruise.
Somebody did ask a question about like, how does food work on a cruise line? And
I was about to say it.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So the buffets are included. A lot of the like grab and go style quick service type foods are included. There are upcharges for food, and that was pretty obvious because they had a sign that said how much the food cost.
Yeah.
But it was going to be the more like specialty food, I suppose, that would have been the upcharge. And then like the sit down dining experiences, that would have all been upcharges. Each cruise line did have like dining areas that were an upcharge. And on Carnival, I got a lobster roll, which was an additional charge. And we did a sushi experience, which was an additional charge. On Disney Cruise Line. We did Remy's, which was quite a substantial upcharge. It was a very unique experience.
It was a special occasion.
Definitely do not plan to do that again at any point soon, probably.
But
just
it was
because
amazing.
I don't, speaking for myself, I don't need to do those like high profile, luxurious experiences to make a trip seem worth it like that. I know that a lot of people they do that every single cruise that they have. And again, that's sort of like a personal budgeting thing. You know, if you're going to prioritize one aspect of a cruise and how you spend your money on it versus another aspect, and that is the cool way to go. The Royal Caribbean, I just got a upcharge of a lobster roll, I think, on that one as well.
I think that's the only upcharge food that we paid for the entire cruise.
I think so. We paid for drinks on
drinks, yeah.
Food, drinks and coffee.
No.
certain coffee. Like you could get just like a black coffee, but if you wanted like a
Mhm.
specialty cafe coffee, like an iced coffee or something like that, then that would have been like an upcharge.
I did like that about the Royal Caribbean ship. So on every other ship that I've been on, the only way that you can get free coffee is in the like cafeteria, like the buffet area. Whereas on Royal, they did have a cafe that had complimentary food. Like they had the Starbucks style drink. I think it actually was Starbucks, like the upcharge drinks that you can get there. But in terms of little snacks and pastries and an actual like coffee cafe machine that you can walk up to in the cafe, it was all complimentary, which I hadn't seen on any other cruise line. And I only drink black coffee anyways, so that was just like great for me, where it was just right there in the promenade. I can go into the cafe, grab my coffee, bring it back up into the room. Whereas the other ones, okay, Ace Ventura with the hair.
Oh man.
I had to go all the way to the dining hall to go get it.
I would go get you coffee sometimes.
You did get me coffee sometimes. It was very much appreciated.
It's part of my whole, I like to walk around vibe. So I would like to go out and see what it looks like on the deck at sunrise, and then I'd get coffee on the way back. Because I don't really drink coffee.
I think because every cruise line has your traditional dining hall that's included for everybody, where you have your set dinner times that you go to every single night, where you can go to it every night if you want to, or you can choose to go elsewhere. I think the Carnival and the Disney had the best food. I was actually, and this is not our like lengthy dining experience included at Royal Caribbean, that's aside, I thought the quality of the food was not as great.
On Royal Caribbean?
On Royal Caribbean. I think Disney and Carnival's food blew Royal Caribbean out of the water. Like in terms of the free food. I think Carnival had the most, outside of the buffet and the scheduled dining, I think they had the most free food offerings, like in little cabanas and areas around the ship. They had the most offerings outside of those two main things. I think Disney had their on the pool deck, they had their 3 little stations that you can go to. And then I don't think Royal Caribbean really had anything outside of the dining room and then the buffet. But
they had the pizza place.
They did have the pizza place, but that could have been the ship itself.
The cafe too.
I'm sure it's much different on the newer Royal Caribbean ships. I'm sure they have like Carnival level, like Carnival Mardi Gras level offerings. It could have just been the date of the ship for us on that one.
Probably. Oh no, somebody says that they're going on the Independence of the Seas and they were looking forward to the food. I don't want to say that we have like a hive mind when it comes to like agreeing on specific aspects of each of the cruises, and in terms of we're always going to agree that this was the best and this was the worst. So this is sort of where I differ, where I think that the food was actually totally fine on the Independence of the Seas. That lobster roll was phenomenal, even though it was an upcharge.
It was a really good lobster roll.
And I think what tainted the food for me was our particular experience in the dining hall, which I'm influenced by those kinds of experiences, where if I have like a negative experience sort of surrounding another experience, then, you know, like if I go to one of the theme parks to watch the fireworks and I have a terrible time just waiting to see the fireworks and everybody around me is rude and elbowing me and I can't see because there are kids on shoulders, it's maybe not going to make me have the best firework experience. And maybe I'm not going to be as raving about the fireworks as I could be if I had just like the most perfect experience surrounding it. So I enjoyed the food on Royal Caribbean, and
again, I do want to like reiterate that this very much could just be dependent on the actual ship that we went on. Like I'm sure that the newer Royal Caribbean ships are immaculate, and I think that's one thing that I want to experience, maybe not next, but I want to be able to experience one of the newer Royal Caribbean ships because I want to be wrong.
So somebody's saying that we can't even compare like the different classes of ships,
and
and like I agree
with
that. Just like what I've seen of like the newer ships that they have, those look crazy, those look ridiculous and so cool. And I might have said this at the beginning of this, but I don't think that I did actually. This was just our experience on these particular cruise ships.
Yeah,
so
take our opinions with a grain of salt.
So it's difficult to compare all of these actual cruise lines. I know that it's like the title of or the video that's just what we're discussing today.
Sorry.
But yeah, so
the 2
you
hours
can't
in
compare like a brand new Carnival ship with an older Royal Caribbean ship and then turn around and go on a brand new Royal Caribbean ship and then go on the oldest Carnival ship. And then so that it's hard to compare that, but we just kind of wanted to put out just like what the vibe, I guess, of the cruise lines were and our experiences on them.
And we did experience 2 different nights of 2-hour dining experiences, which was disappointingly long. But again, I don't want to say that that is anybody's experience on this ship. That could have just been like a weird one-off situation for that week, that sailing, that wait staff. I don't know, like who knows what the different components that led to that could have been. And it, like, if we would have gone any other week, maybe it would have been completely different. Like, I don't want to say that that is the overall vibe of that cruise line.
Right. What I don't know, and because on our Carnival experience, we were with your family, and then on Disney, we were with my family. So we were with like larger groups on those cruises. I don't know if they combine you with other parties on other cruise lines as well. I don't know if this was only particular to the ship or this cruise line, but on Royal Caribbean, we were sat with other people.
It did happen to my mom and I when we went on our cruise line alone, which I think was also Royal Caribbean.
Okay.
So we were sat, because it was just my mom and I, we were sat with other people
right,
as well.
Which I know it's not like the biggest deal in the world, but just like the experience that you want to have like at a dining room table, just like the intimate conversations and just even just table manner.
Yeah.
I don't know, just like your experience like at a dining room table, like what you would do if you were just with you and your partner or you and your family, and your table manners and conversations that you would have.
Oh, see, and Disney seats you with other people too. And I'm pretty sure if you are just a small party, like the 2 people, they do need to like be smart with their spacing. So again, I don't want to say that being sat with other people is a dock on any specific cruise line. So I'm pretty sure they do it to conserve space.
Yeah, which again, like it makes sense. And we were with like very polite people, but not the most conversational in terms of like wanting to like engage in conversation. And not that we were either, but it definitely, it made dinner a little bit more awkward than I anticipated. And just that kind of combined with the length of the experience, which again, that was the worst part. Easily the worst part, I think, of the entire Royal Caribbean cruise was that it took 2 hours to get through a, what's it called when you have like a meal that's like predetermined for you?
A prefix meal.
Yes, that. So like on all of the other cruise ships, like I think in particular Carnival, I remember like we would be able to be sat at our table and we could be gone in an hour at the most.
I think one night we were able to leave in 45 minutes because we had a show that we needed to get to.
Right. So that it took that long to get like every single like course. And even that night, because that was the night that we were going to go see the ice skating show. And he even asked if we had anything that we needed to get to, any shows that we needed to see. And we said yes. And then we completely missed the show by over an hour, pretty much.
And I don't want to think that it was our waiter's fault.
No, not at all.
There's so many variables that can go into a dining experience. And I think a lot of people want to immediately assume that it's your wait staff because they're the ones giving you their food. But like, who knows what's going on behind the scenes? Like our waiter probably was like waiting on the chef, or because it was one dining room. It was 3 different levels of dining. Everyone went to the same dining room at the same time. I bet you 100% our waiter was waiting on the food coming in and out. And that's what was taking so long, because he was very nice. He was very attentive. And I don't think that the wait time had anything to do with him.
No, yeah. It could just be the allocated staff that they had, and then the over or underestimation of the people that would actually come to their dining room reservation. So yeah, it's one of those, like, I have no blame to cast in that situation. It was just a bummer because, you know, again, like we have a limited amount of time on the ship in general, and different activities that like we wanted to be able to do. And, you know, just to be able to be like,
are we going on too much about the food?
No, we're on the food topic, so we got to talk about it.
We're on the food.
I don't know. I wanted to be able to go and do stuff, and I like eating. I like sitting down, but in that sort of dining room situation where you're there with strangers, and you can't really have like a full conversation as you would if you were in a more intimate setting. You know, it to me, it kind of became more of like, all right, let's go and get our food and then go do something.
Yeah.
And then we weren't able to. And I think that the dining room quality food was better than the buffet food, but then also I'm more of a quantity versus quality of food at times. I enjoy good quality food, but if you watched our videos, then you saw that I had like 4 to 5 plates pretty much every time that we went to the buffet for breakfast or for dinner, because I there was just so much variety and I wanted to just try it all.
I had a point I wanted to bring up about the differences in dining. So the thing that people love about Disney Cruise Lines that I actually think was a deterrent for me is that you have the same wait staff the entire run of the ship.
On
Disney.
That wasn't the case for Carnival as well, and for
Royal Caribbean? I meant like when you're right. Okay, so on Royal Caribbean, we went to the same restaurant every time. Okay, you're right. That's a good point.
Whoops. Got her.
Yeah, you're right. I guess in my opinion,
what you meant is that we went to a different dining room and it would have been a different experience to have somebody different in the different dining rooms, but our wait staff followed us to every dining room on Disney. But it was the same for Carnival and Royal.
I did got in my own point. You're absolutely right. I don't know what I was trying to express with my point now, but you are right. I guess I just found it weird that they followed us everywhere and
to the different restaurants.
And maybe it's just because I'm more of like a shy person when it comes to like interacting with people. Our person that followed us around on Disney was awesome. Like he joked around with us. There was one night where we laughed so hard about something. I think it had to do with like the seat. And we were all like laughing together and he was wonderful. But then there was times where he was like trying to like joke around with us. But I was just like, and it could have just been me where it's like, maybe I was just like in the mood to just like eat and be with you guys. But I felt like I had to entertain the waiter trying to entertain me. And I'm like, I just want to eat.
Yeah, I think, well, it's probably what it was is the other cruise lines, they brought us our food. They asked us if we wanted anything else. They, he was definitely the most attentive, the most engaging and entertaining. And for some people, that could be a huge aspect of what they appreciate. For others, they may just want to kind of lay a little bit lower. I mean, I appreciate it. I love kind of giving that vibe, and it back that's being given to me. It's like going to Disney's Hollywood Studios.
It totally makes sense why somebody would love a wait staff that like gets to know you, that knows that they have your preferred drink waiting for you there. Like that makes complete sense to me. And like, I don't want to say that I wouldn't appreciate that either. I guess it was just the extra attentiveness I actually found uncomfortable. Whereas like, I completely recognize where that would be like amazing to other people. So maybe that was just like a Brennan thing and not like this could be your experience too thing.
Well, yeah, but it's like, having your elbows on the table at the 50s Primetime Cafe and they come over and they're like, get your elbows off the table, finish your chicken. Like, and you either have to be like, you're funny. Like, or you could be like, excuse you. Like,
yeah.
Or Whispering Canyon Cafe where you say, can I have more ketchup? And they bring you 50 bottles of ketchup. You have to kind of like, you have to go with it. You have to have like a fun time with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciated all of our wait staff. They do a fantastic job. Like and this goes.
I'm just naturally more introverted
all of the cruise lines
with that stuff.
I mean, have a good time. Like he was literally like force feeding me my food, and I asked for like. When was it? Then I asked for like another crab cake, and he just kept on bringing me crab cakes.
Yeah, you asked for one extra crab cake, and every time you finished it, he would replace it with another crab cake. And at the end, you were like, "Everybody, please help me with the crab cakes." And then that was the thing he tried to force feed you because you didn't finish that one crab cake because you were full. And he literally picked up your fork, took the crab cake, and shoved it in your mouth.
See, you could either, and I have a good time with that stuff, but I could see other people being a little bit put off by that sort of assertion and insertion, I guess.
Yeah, and I recognize that my opinion on the waitstaff thing could be a very hot take compared to most other people. I just, like I said, I tend to be more introverted in interactions like that. So I like the whole like, I'd like this. Thank you very much. No, I don't need anything. Thank you kind of interaction.
And I just appreciate that they want to have a good time themselves, you know? And if they find a table that's actually like engaging with them and having a
Mhm.
good time, like then that's sort of fun to just kind of make it worth their while in terms of the effort that they're putting in.
You're right.
I
Yeah.
think. Uh, sorry, reading the comments. What else when it comes to the food? So just in general, like for me, the goal on the cruise lines was to try to avoid the upcharges to
Mhm.
not have to pay for extraneous purchases or food offerings unless it was just very specific or just it just seemed like it was like a cool experience like paying for a lobster roll, which was generally only about $10 on the cruise lines, and then sitting down and having like a special like sushi sit down experience where we could eat sushi, like looking out of the window at the beautiful water, you know. And then Remy's was like a very special experience to do that just because I was with my mom and my dad
Mhm.
and my younger brother Dennis. He's sort of a culinary uh, artist, I guess. He appreciates food, so for him that was like a big experience to try to do that. But yeah, the food that was like an extra cost, I liked it. I appreciated it. I would do it again if I could. But I think also in Royal Caribbean, because the food took so long, I felt like
Oh, I
like
didn't want to get extra food.
oh yeah, like on Carnival and on Disney, like you could ask for like seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths
Oh,
on
did my family
any.
take advantage of lobster night on the Carnival or what?
Did I take advantage of it?
You took more advantage. I think
I got so much lobster.
I think once you saw that you could take advantage of it from my cousin, you were like, like your eyes like lit up.
I was so excited. I was like,
that was the day.
If I get
Roy
seasick,
wanted to
I
cruise
don't care.
forever.
Yeah, I wanted endless lobster, but yeah, on Royal Caribbean, it was just like, here's the food that you asked for an hour ago or an hour and a half ago, and it's just like, okay, I'll make this work. This is it. No more.
I love that they offered, oh my god, French onion soup on the Royal Caribbean. It was super random, but no one ever offers French onion soup, and the fact that they offered it every night on the Royal Caribbean, I was really excited about that. Just fun fact. I love French onion soup.
That's one aspect about cruising too, is that you're not obligated to show up for dining.
Yeah,
experience.
We did it on the last night because we wanted to actually take advantage of the buffet dinner because we were eating the buffet dinner.
Well, and there were also so many different shows breakfast on the last night too that we wanted to do, and activities. It was just like, there's no way. I'm like, I mean, this was like, that wasn't me. That was like a joint decision, but like we didn't want to just commit to dining when we wanted to make sure that we could like go to the shows. And I think like one of the biggest regrets is, and I have this a lot when I go somewhere new or I want to experience something, I like make like a mental note where I'm like, oh, I want to come back and I want to go here, or I definitely want to do that, or like I'll be back to do that without a doubt. And then if I don't, I regret just like putting that out there because I feel insecure about like I didn't get to do what I said that I was going to do or what I wanted to do. But because we were only on our Royal Caribbean ship like a limited amount of time, it was sort of impossible. We could not go to every single bar on that ship. And just so much was like overlapping in terms of activities. Well, they were all like different and themed, and just like that would have been cool to go to try to at least experience like going to the different bars.
Yeah, that's the difference between us is, and you said it best, you're more active and I'm more passive when it comes to how we like to enjoy our vacations. And this is not to say that I don't enjoy activities, because I do. I cannot be that person that just stays in the pool on the ship the entire time. Like I do have to like get up and do stuff too, which is like what I appreciate about you is like you're always getting me out of that comfort zone of like getting up and going to do stuff. So I found that like there were certain lounges that I thought would have been cool to visit, but I personally didn't want that, like visiting that lounge, to take away from other cool things that we could have done. Like I'm not going to go sit at a lounge and have a drink for an hour when we could be doing mini golf. So I think that was the main reason that we didn't
And it probably
explore some
seems
of
like
that
I
stuff.
abandoned her multiple times on all these cruises because I
No.
would be walking around by
I
myself. But
nap a lot.
generally when I'm doing that is when she's napping or when she's just sort of relaxing and doing her own thing, or she's just like getting ready for the morning or to go out to
Yeah.
our evening
He
like
uses his
recreational
time
entertainment show.
strategically.
Right. So like if she's like doing her makeup, I know that that takes a particular amount of time. So I'm gonna like run up and I'm gonna see if I can do this and do this in this amount of time before I make it back to the room, and then we go together to go do this other activity that we planned to do together once she got ready. Or I wake up earlier. I want to say significantly earlier, but I wake up earlier than you,
Yeah.
and then you get ready in the morning. So that's my time to like run around
Explore.
and see what's going on the top deck. And, you know, if I didn't get to explore on this particular deck, or I really wanted to see what was on this side of the ship or that side of the ship.
I did nap on the first cruise that I went on. I did drink more on that one, which is what was contributing to the naps, but it was also just like a longer cruise and we were trying to make use of the time. So we were getting up early and then staying up late. So just to like keep up with myself. And I do get migraines. So I also needed to nap to make sure that I like was keeping my health in track to like get ready for the second leg of the day every day on the cruises.
And I just didn't want to like debark the ship and then go home and then watch somebody else's YouTube video about like this entire area of the ship that I like didn't get to see or explore, and have that regret that I didn't get to go and do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk about the ports?
I guess so. What were we just talking about? We were talking about the food, right?
Yeah. I guess in terms of ports, I mostly just meant like the different islands that they provide.
Were we done talking about the food?
Are you done? I'm done.
I think so. We didn't really talk about Remy's, other than the fact that it was just like a very expensive upcharge, and it was a fancy experience that I could not tell you what we had at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fun. Like most times, sometimes it's just fun to have an excuse to dress up nice, to look good, and to sit down and be waited on and be brought champagne or wine and eat food that you just can't pronounce. Sometimes that's just a fun activity to do, and I don't need to do that every time because I'll eat buffet food every single day.
I would love Remy's if it was the same food with the same like coursed concept of it. If it was just slightly more casual. I did like the excuse to dress up. Like I love a good excuse to like put on a dress and do my makeup, and I loved that part about it. And the food was amazing, and I would eat that food again. But I guess maybe it played a little into the insecurities that I have with my introvertedness of dining, where it was like the attentiveness while I was like eating was a little uncomfortable for me. Like just that level of elevated dining was something I'm very happy that I got to experience, and I would 100% experience it again later on. But I think as someone who doesn't do fancy dining like that often, I was very much out of my element, but the food was not out of my element, and I would eat again.
It was a good experience. But at the same time, I don't mind the cruise line food, the included food and the buffet food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's next on your little list here?
The ports.
Ports. This one's hard because really only Carnival was the one that we had like different port days on compared to Disney and
I guess it would be less about the ports and more about, because you can experience the same ports on any cruise line at any given time. It just depends on which one you go on. So I think it was more about the private islands or lack thereof that you get offered with the different cruise lines. So Carnival doesn't offer a private island. And I didn't think I cared about that until we went to Castaway Key K. It's interchangeable, apparently. I really liked it there. I wanted to stay in that snorkeling section of the ocean for hours. I just wanted to live out there the rest of my life.
Wow.
And I just liked the private island Coco Kike Kiki as well. Carnival has their own island. It's called Half Moon Cay. I've never heard of this. I guess we're wrong. I don't know. I've never been to one.
Look at that. That's interesting. I don't know. The ports are, again, I would personally just want to go elsewhere in the Caribbean to experience a non-Nassau port at this point. Because the locations that we did stop in our Carnival cruise they were fun. I feel awkward when it comes to feeling like a tourist in that sort of scenario where it's just I'm amongst a large group of people disembarking a ship to just drink and shop, in a very sequestered section of like an island or wherever we end up disembarking and then just getting back onto the ship. Like, I think that excursions on ports are a must to really experience that particular port. Because I want to go somewhere and I want to do something. It's cool to be able to shop around a little bit, but I can get a shot of Fireball anywhere. I don't need to do it, on this island in the Bahamas, but I can't, go white water rafting or zip lining through the mountains, elsewhere. So but then again, when it comes to those upcharges, it's got to be worth it,
When what I look forward to in these private island offerings is I like the complimentary food and I want to be in the ocean.
Okay.
A perfect day for me on a private island is the food, some drinks, and I just want to be in the ocean. I could just stay in the ocean for hours. I feel like that's my element. So I was really excited about that I keep wanting to interchange Coco and Castaway. I loved it when we went to Castaway with the snorkeling. And then when we went to Coco, I loved the harbor that we were in where there were no jellies. And then I liked the off the beaten path, like ocean part, which had the jellies. I liked it. I liked just being in it because they have the water park, which I'd like to experience next time. And then they had their more like pool area, which is like the party pool that you'll find most party people at. Like, it's not really my scene. Like, give me a drink and give me a float in the ocean.
They had the swim up bar though. That was pretty cool.
Yes, I've never done a swim up bar.
So I guess just really mostly for me comparing the private islands again, because like the ports themselves, I've either now been to too much or I've only been to once. And so it's like hard to compare those, but like the private islands in particular, Castaway Cay was definitely, I think my favorite just because it felt relaxed and Disney just does such a good job of theming those sort of environments without a doubt.
And oddly enough, you're going to laugh at me, but I still think about the potato salad from Cookies.
Okay.
On Castaway. It was so good, the potato salad.
I think the food was actually better for me on Coco Cay than Castaway Cay. I think just like thinking about it, just like the variety of foods that
they offered more at those buffets on Coco.
I think so. But like the snorkeling experience, the water slide, just like the beach itself was beautiful. That was just very relaxing on Castaway. It was very photogenic, without a doubt, just being able to see the ship. And we didn't, again, even make it to half of the island. And I still want to go back and experience more of it. But yeah, Serenity Bay, which I think that's the adult section on Castaway Cay, right? But Coco Cay, I think I was just deterred from all of the upcharges. It felt like it was an inconvenience to just be there if I didn't want to spend extra money, where the water park itself was like $75, $80. The zip line was $110. The snorkeling would have been $40 something. All of these per person, activities. The balloon, if it was running, it wasn't because of the weather, because of the winds. I guess like that would have been an upcharge. I don't even know. It would have been an upcharge. Get it? It's like a pun because it's a balloon. So yeah, so it was just like, okay, I guess we can just sort of walk around and hopefully get in the water, maybe.
Yeah, it just felt like we were more catered on Castaway.
Yeah, and I wasn't like we were avoiding upcharges the entire time. It was just like trying to be conscientious of like what we were spending versus what we were going to get out of it, I think.
Something that has to do with Castaway Cay that also plays into something about Disney Cruise Line, and this is depending on you, honestly, what you want in a cruise.
Me?
Not you, me. No, just anybody. I felt very catered / babied on the Disney Cruise Line when it came to, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to word this, but like doing excursions on the Disney Cruise Line was very organized and very like catered, where if you go on a excursion on any other cruise line, they're like, all right, we're here, get off and go find it. Whereas Disney was very like, all right, we're going to meet in this theater. I'm going to give you the little Elsa sticker. You're going to stick with all the other Elsa stickers, and we're going to walk over to your excursion. We're going to stay together, which I liked. I liked the organization of it. I can see where some people don't like that.
Excursions, though, on Carnival or Royal?
No, but I've done them on other ones.
Okay.
And it's very much like, all right, you're off. Go find your excursion. I hope you make it back on time.
I think if we were going to pay for an excursion, it would have been like an island excursion versus like I wouldn't consider the water park or the zip line like an excursion.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I would have regretted it, where I was like, I would have been like, we could have gone and done something really cool on Nassau, but instead we paid even more so just to do a 10-minute zip line.
Yeah.
Because it was, again, 3 separate zip lines, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
The water park, just like looking at it, just looking at the map, just seeing what was all included with it. It looked like there was like a wave pool. There was like a collection of slides.
That whole tower was like 5 different slides.
It might have been, but then there was like another collection of slides, but I just couldn't seem. I wasn't convinced that it would have been worth that much of like an upcharge. And I tried to find like the prices of a lot of this like online. It didn't seem like it was posted anywhere, probably because they can adjust the price of this like depending on the season that it is. I don't really know for sure. It's something that I wanted to do, but if I can go to Typhoon Lagoon and Volcano Bay, of which there are quintuple more activities and offerings that I can already get into versus like
we did
paying extra for.
I'm calling you outside if you ever go to Amber Cove. We did go to Amber Cove, and that is where we did get to do the zip lining from their Sky Tower area. And that was the thing that we were comparing the zip lining in Coco Cay to, was because we had just gotten done on our Carnival trip going to Amber Cove, where they had $20 unlimited zip lining, and then we suddenly go to Coco Cay and it's $110 per person. And we were like, oh, maybe not.
Right. So that was a bummer, because that would have been really cool to get to do, and just to be able to like go over the water park without going into the water park. That could have been kind of neat, just to see like what all is included with the water park.
I did want to say, because I know that it felt like we were being really negative about Disney. Going back to Castaway Cay is another reason I would love to do a Disney cruise line. Like, in terms of being fair and honest about all 3 cruise lines, like that is another thing that would 100% get me back on a Disney cruise line.
Just to be able to go back to Castaway.
Just to be able to go to Castaway Cay. I thought everyone was just kind of like blowing smoke at Disney for like their love towards Castaway, but it is cute. It's cute. It's fun. It's clean. It's like the environment is light. The food was good. The offerings were good. There was a lot to do and explore on that island, and it is a huge positive.
And I want to be able to go back with a GoPro.
And it would be a huge contributor for me to want to go back on a Disney cruise line ship.
And then they have their new private island, Lighthouse Point, at some point.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool.
Whenever that happens, or if it happens, presuming that it's going to happen, but Disney just...
Josh tomorrow was standing on the island. It's
they
going to
like
happen.
to take their time.
This, when it zoomed out, okay, it's going to happen.
Disney takes their time with stuff these days just to make sure that it's magical. So, yep, we'll see.
I'm good about the ports. I don't know if you had any other opinions.
That's it. I think that's honestly been one of the challenges. It was like a deterrent almost to book another cruise when we did for your birthday. It was mostly because you specifically wanted to go on a cruise for your birthday.
Yeah, I did.
And
I would do it again.
Well, to me, I'm glad that we did, but just based on like what was available, like I don't think I would go on another like Nassau Bahama cruise like
No,
anytime
that's
soon,
and
like,
that
which kind of
is
stinks because it's like, oh man, I do enjoy cruising, and if it's done at the right price at the right time with the right discount,
mhm.
you know.
Well, for a while, my family and I were
But I don't want to go back to Nassau.
we were like exclusively going on Mexican cruises but we did port out of New Orleans for a few of those.
I was gonna say I don't want to go back to Nassau right now, but I do enjoy Nassau.
Yeah. Like we had a couple where we met up with my family in New Orleans and we ported from there to do our Mexican, like where we went to Mexico and did all of those ones. And then I think our last cruise inspired us to want to talk to our families about trying an Alaskan cruise this time. Because that's something that your dad has always wanted to do. My parents have never experienced a Disney cruise line. And I think it would be just like the perfect thing for our families because our families get along very well. And I think it would be great for them to get together and like us all have this like bucket list experience. I know somebody asked earlier, so we can get somebody to like about aversions to doing a cruise. If you had any, if you guys had questions about like what would deter you from wanting to do a cruise, and maybe we can see if we can help persuade you or I don't know, validate you.
I mean, I could talk about my own personal aversions, which were, I was nervous to go on a cruise because my perception of it was that you were going to be just trapped on this ship, and it was just all about casinos and drinking and other activities as well. But I'm not somebody who lounges. You know, I'm not somebody that just enjoys sitting by a pool or sitting on a beach towel and just relaxing. I can do that. I do like to do that, but not like in excessive amounts. So like when we go to the beach, I grew up at the beach, you know, I'm from Pensacola, which is in the panhandle of Florida. And, you know, I still just have this perception of the beach, probably because it was so available to me that, you know, I would go to the beach and I would get in the water and I would build my sandcastles and I would put on my goggles and then I'd be like, all right, I did it. I went to the beach. I had a great time. Got to go swimming.
I've always lived in Central Florida.
Got to eat a picnic on the beach.
I've always lived in Central Florida, so I've always been 1 hour away from the beach. And I had a lot of family vacations because I'm an only child. It's just been me and my family. But we would have.
You're an only child.
I'm an only child. I have a child from Titanic. It's like one of my favorite quotes. I'm sorry. That was super derailed. But we would go to the beach all the time.
Talking about Titanic as we're talking about cruise lines.
Oh, yeah. The irony of that. I could be talking about Poseidon instead. That cruise line.
Anyway.
I don't know. I have great memories of going to the beach. Those are some of my favorite vacations. So you grew up at the beach and you were kind of oversaturated with it. Whereas I went to the beach a lot as a kid, but I have great memories of it, which makes me love being there.
I didn't go all the time to the beach, but I would go to the beach and I would do what I went there to do. And I'd be kind of like, all right, I'm good. So the same kind of like mentality about a cruise where it's like, okay, so you're getting on a ship for a week and you're just going to be drinking and sitting by the pool and that's sort of it. Like I want to be able to do activities and then just the pleasant surprise of going on the Carnival ship and seeing that there's so much more to cruising when it comes to just walking around and then the various recreation and then the games that they have on board intertwined with the entertainment of the port days and excursions. Like there's plenty to do, and that was like,
and you can
that honestly, was a massive reassurance.
And
for
you
me.
Can say that you don't feel trapped on a ship.
I do not. No,
because that was his biggest thing. He thought he was like, if he felt anxious or anything, that he wouldn't have anywhere to go. And I'm like, trust me, you will have places to go.
Yeah. So there was plenty to do, at least in the ships that we've been on, and
the seasickness. Do you want to talk about your seasickness?
Yeah. So I was nervous about that too, because like if anybody relates to just having motion sickness in general, which you know, is a branch off of like seasickness, I guess.
Because you do get motion sickness, like
I
in
do.
a car.
Yeah, and usually a lot of the times when you get motion sick, how you kind of relieve yourself of that is just being able to be grounded again. So if you get car sick, you need to be able to kind of correct your internal stabilization by being able to pull off the side of the road and get onto solid ground and just kind of being able to walk around a little bit. You know, and orient yourself mentally, which I felt like on a cruise line, you know, if you are on a ship and you had just an entire day at sea if you got seasick and there was nowhere to go to like alleviate that internal orientation, then that was something that I was like really intimidated by. But that's why like the veranda's been nice, and just the ability to go back to the room and go out onto the veranda, or be able to go up to the top of the deck, and just kind of walk around or just look out at the horizon, and it ended up not being a problem at all. And I did use little seasick patches, which I don't really know if they
I think it was more of a placebo.
I don't really
botanical.
know. Yeah.
I've gotten seasick on every cruise line that I've been on, but I only get seasick one day, and then I kind of get acclimated with my equilibrium. Yeah. Except for the Disney Dream and the Independence of the Seas. I didn't experience any seasickness. But there's always one day where it hits me. It's usually the night that we sail or the day after, and then I'm fine the rest of the cruise. Except the last two. I was totally fine.
Yeah, ended up being pretty nice. I don't know if it's going to be the same on like smaller, older ships. But again, I'm very glad that ended up not being like an issue. Just like the seasickness, and then just like feeling trapped on the ship. And yeah, I think that's it. I think my major aversions were just that it was going to be all about just drinking and relaxing, which, how is that an aversion to a vacation? Is like, oh, there's just going to be too much relaxing, and there's no way that I could handle that. but at the same time, I like to being able to do stuff, and I was able to do a lot.
If you have financial aversions to a cruise outside of the initial cost to get on one, there's times where you can actually get a pretty affordable cruise. And I think that the type of vacation, like the all-encompassing vacation that's offered in a cruise, like the travel, the food, and then the entertainment, I think it's worth a price if you can find a really good deal, which will usually come maybe like a month before it sails, you'd think.
Probably, yeah. So yeah, the Carnival cruise that we did with your family, that was more planned by them, and like the finances of how we like split that up was like an afterthought. So it was more affordable on like the back end to make that work.
But there's
Disney
ways.
Cruise. Well,
I was still trying to finish my thought too. I was gonna say like there's still ways that like once you pay the initial price of the cruise itself, there's ways to have an affordable cruise your entire time there. Like food is complimentary. You can bring 2 bottles of wine for each person. So if you aren't a huge drinker, you can make it through your entire cruise off of a couple bottles of wine.
You can bring some canned soda too.
You can bring on some of them, not all of them.
Yeah.
And then there's a way that you can, once you pay the initial price, to have an affordable cruise by just being careful with what you spend your money on. If you are a drinker, like look into the drink package if you drink that much. If you don't, I know that for me, it was a matter of, is this drink worth it right now? And I would gauge how much I needed or wanted to drink that day, depending on how much money I wanted to save. But there's ways that you can definitely save money. You can stay, there's plenty of stuff to do where you don't need to do an excursion. I think we've proved that. So you can take advantage of all the complimentary things on the ship and at the ports, and still just have like a great time and great vacation, and not spend any extra money if you don't need to, or if you don't need to. Like, I know some people might think that's very blue sky, but if that was your goal, like if you were like determined to not spend extra funds outside of the initial price to get on the ship itself, I think, in my opinion, it's very doable.
I agree. And again, like just we've been very fortunate to be able to just go on cruises recently. Oh, that's cool. And it seems like a financial splurge to be able to go on so many back to back, but just like the ability to be able to take advantage of a cast member space available discount for the Disney Cruise Line,
and paying attention to the fluctuating prices. Right.
And just this one that we booked for Royal Caribbean was very last minute. So that was like an incredible discount to be able to take advantage of that. And then again, just like paying attention to what the price differences were in either veranda rooms or porthole rooms or just interior rooms, and just justifying that price, where it's like, if we book a veranda, then maybe we won't do an excursion this time because we've already been to Nassau. We did an excursion last time.
Yeah.
And just seeing what the excursions were on Coco Cay, and then just being okay with not doing the water park, or
and then vice versa, where it's like,
Right.
you know what, I really want to put my money into doing excursion and experiences. Maybe we can save a couple hundred and just get an interior cabin this time and put that money that we would have spent on a veranda into an excursion.
I think I can make it work with like a porthole room. Like, and if we wanted to kind of splurge on a different sort of an experience, like next time, it's really nice just to be able to go out onto the veranda, or just like, open up the curtain and just see where we're ported at that particular day, which you can do, with the porthole room too. I don't know. I don't want to like commit to this concept that we will only ever do a veranda, and that is like a necessity for the cruise. It's like a very pleasant and comforting like experience, but it's by no means something that I like feel like I need to commit to and set that like standard for myself.
So I think we need to eat food soon.
Oh, I guess so.
But
was that the end of your little list there?
It was, yeah. I do think the only other thing that I think is worth talking about is the differences in lengths of cruises.
Okay.
And it was Kristen that kind of brought that up, where it's like, we are Florida residents and we are relatively close to Port Canaveral. So that does make it easy from our, like, I think it's only like a 45, 50-minute drive to Port Canaveral for us. It's pretty convenient to do one. And
we also didn't really talk about like just parking too, because for the Carnival cruise, because it was a 7-day cruise, we parked like at a separate lot,
third-party lot,
and then we took a shuttle over to the port. But for Disney and for Port Canaveral, we just had to go and park at the port,
which I think I would just keep doing. I don't think financially it was that big of a difference.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, you save, but then if you tip your shuttle driver, and then it just depends on like the time that you would save having to leave earlier to get there to guarantee that you would get there at your port time. It's like, I don't know. It's just what's worth it, a little bit more or less time, or a little bit more or less money versus being actually there.
Yeah. I think a 5-day cruise is the perfect amount of time. I think depending on what you're doing on a 7-day cruise, like if you're doing a lot of ports, I think it could be worth it. And I think it's worth doing a 7-day cruise every now and then because it's so cool. And clearly I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface of the Carnival Mardi Gras, even on a 7-day cruise.
I feel like I did, because I walked around a lot more than you, I think.
That's true.
And I tried to do like all of the recreation.
I think 3 days is just not enough. I think it seems convenient and super doable, but every time, like when I've done shorter cruises, I always leave feeling like, man, I wish I had more time. But then you start getting kind of homesick on day 5 of a 7-day cruise. So I think 5 days is just perfect.
So I think that 7 days was too long. I kind of do. Having multiple days at sea, it was nice because you could sequester certain days for like all the recreational activities, and then another day could be just for drinking and lounging, and that day could just be that.
If you're into it.
And then like the various port days, just taking advantage of the different locations, because I do want to do that. I do want to be able to go places. Like I don't want it to just be about the ship and the food and the buffet and the rock climbing and the drinks and all of that, because that's fun, but it's also really cool to be able to go somewhere new and take advantage of a different, culture and environment like that.
I love the perfect mixture of port days and days at sea. Like that to me is a perfect cruise. On our Royal Caribbean, we didn't have any days at sea, and I really wish that we did. And then on the Carnival, I felt like we had almost too many days at sea. Like I don't want to say that we didn't get a chance to explore everything on the Carnival and then say that we had too many days at sea, but it felt just like a long time to be away. And that also could have been because that was the first time that we left Arlo alone.
Yes. I was going to mention this too, that most cruises are 3 or 4 or 7 days. There's not a lot of like 5 or 6 day cruises.
That is very true.
Because I was going to say that my ideal, it would be like 4 days. It's nice to be able to port in different places, like go to an actual port, go to a private island, and then have like a day at sea where you can, however, you can adjust your schedule accordingly to that, however much you want to drink or relax or enjoy yourself on the cruise with the recreational and the entertainment offerings. I think 4 days is like a pretty good amount of days. I think of all the cruising that we've done, this year, But Disney, I feel like I accomplished all that I was going to do on that ship, and I got to do what I wanted to do, and I got to see the shows, and I got to enjoy myself and relax. And I think that one was like the most worth it in terms of just like the amount of time, because that's another aspect too, is that, you know, the amount of days that you spend on a cruise is going to make that price very varied.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went on a very short cruise, you know, recently, and that's probably been the most like affordable one, but we wish that we could have done that longer. Like if I could have switched our 4-day Disney cruise with our 3-day Royal Caribbean, I probably would have done that, honestly,
I
because
agree.
Disney didn't really need a day at sea.
Yeah,
I don't think.
I agree.
But I don't know, because our excursion took up a huge part of that day too, where if we had just kind of done a quick Nassau trip during our Disney Cruise Line trip, then we probably could have done more on the ship. But yeah,
Our opinions are just our opinions.
Yeah, well, there was so much on the Independence of the Seas that I still wanted to do. I wanted to go to the various bars, and there was a laser tag on board. I think it was in the same location that the ice skating was. But that would have been so cool to get to see. And I feel like I did everything that I wanted to do on the Mardi Gras, but I would have done it all multiple times over, honestly.
What ship was easiest to navigate? The Disney Dream.
Yeah, I think so. Disney Dream just had an atrium and a couple hallways, basically, and then just like exterior port and starboard like balcony. What would you call those? Just where the lifeboats were.
Decks.
Yes, there you go. They had outdoor decks.
I just thought about the Carnival elevators.
Okay. The elevator situation. I don't know. It was a lot of people, like their entire judgment of a ship is based on like the elevator experience.
We're stair people.
Yeah, I really don't care to take the elevator
I'll take the stairs.
Unless it's like a necessity or there's nobody else there.
Like if we're going from like the bottom deck to the top deck, like I'll take the elevator, but if it's between
if it's a few
0
floors
to 5 flights of stairs, I'm taking the stairs.
Yeah, because why not? But yeah, that was like a big aspect of a lot of the ships is just people just waiting for the elevators just to get where they needed to go.
And to be honest, like I think if more people took the stairs, then it would make the elevators more accessible for people who do physically need the elevators.
That's true.
Like there was just too many people taking the elevators from just up one floor. Let's take the stairs.
So I think we should go through the list here between just like the ship overall, the recreation, the entertainment, the food, and the ports.
We're gonna rank them.
Let's just like our own personal, just like
the
ships that we've been on, I guess, and that could be kind of our final take on our experiences.
Okay.
I feel like we again probably missed a good amount of conversation about just all of these different ships, but again, these were specific ships on these particular cruise lines for a varied amount of time. In terms of whether it was a 3, 4, or 7-day cruise, various ports with your family, with my family, and then just us.
Our opinions are just our opinions.
Right. So let's do ship overall last, so we can go like.
Okay.
So as far as recreation, your ranking of each particular cruise line, I'm gonna go and say Carnival, Mardi Gras, Royal Caribbean, Independence of the Seas, Disney Dream. From best to worst, I think. Entertainment, Disney Dream,
Carnival.
I think Royal Caribbean, Independence, and then
Royal,
and then Carnival, Mardi Gras.
Okay.
Food. I'm gonna say Carnival, Mardi Gras, Disney Dream, Royal Caribbean, and Independence of the Seas.
I'm gonna have to agree. I really liked the dining room food on the Disney, but the amount of offerings on Carnival that were still complimentary, I think, far outweighs.
Because you could walk up and get a burger, then you could go get chicken, and then you could go get barbecue, and then there were so many different
places. This is not all of Carnival, but the Carnival Mardi Gras had the Shack's chicken, and it was really good. So yeah, I'm going to say Carnival, Disney, Royal for food.
Okay. think they just saw me putting in your passcode in your phone, so you might have to change that.
Oh no, if you take my phone, you're going to know my password.
So finally, ports, which kind of like encompass like private island, and this won't be hard to kind of like rank this.
Yeah, because that's like the combination of ports that you can experience is going to be different on each ship. But I'm going to say that I enjoyed. Should I base this off of a all-encompassing thing that anyone could experience, or just my personal experience?
I'm not sure. Whatever you want to do with that.
I'm going to go off of my personal experience because I don't want to put my opinions on this one because I don't think I experienced enough to give you my opinion.
It's hard to rank, yeah, because of the length of the cruises.
Because like what I enjoy off of ports is not going to be the same thing as what anybody else is going to enjoy. So I'm going to go off of my personal experience. I liked all the ports that we went to for Carnival. There was just more, obviously, because it was a longer cruise. And then I liked Castaway, Kiki, and then Coco.
I think I'll have to agree with you on that, just because we actually went to a variety of places with Carnival, and then just Castaway was beautiful, and then Coco was also beautiful, but the upcharges really kind of just knocked it down in terms of just having a pleasant experience without having to just have to consider and weigh all of these different options financially.
Yeah.
So overall, the ship experience.
Carnival.
Okay.
Royal. Disney.
I think I said that at the beginning too, didn't I? I think that was my ranking, just like Carnival, Royal, and then Disney.
It's tough because if I broke everything, like if I broke various aspects of these ships down into like little tiles and I placed them in pros and cons list, I think Royal and Disney would kind of even themselves out based off of the different offerings. But I think if I'm just going to go with like a surface level opinion, Royal and then Disney.
I think so. And again, that's going to be the takeaway too, is that how can Carnival not be the top? It's the newest. It had the most recreation. It had like the most food variety, and we went to the most like we went to different ports.
Yeah.
And that was the longest cruise, so there was just that much time to.
And this could very
explore.
much be different if we go on a more dated Carnival ship.
For less amount of time.
I'm sure this will be completely different. And then same if we went on a newer Royal Caribbean ship. I think that any Disney ship that we go on, I think it's going to be the same experience. And I do think that plays into a lot of
Which is not a bad thing.
That was what I was going to say. I think that does play into a lot of people's love for the Disney cruise line.
Consistency,
they love consistency, and I don't think that's a bad thing. If that's
it's a
what
high
you
standard
want.
of consistency, and I think that's what people really appreciate,
Yes.
and that's why they, because like the other cruise lines, I think there's more of like a risk of the variables of like what you're going to get out of a particular cruise, but Disney, you could just, that it's going to be like a good cruise with the.
And I can appreciate the consistency. Like I definitely can appreciate some consistency because imagine if you went on the Carnival Mardi Gras and then you went on the Royal Caribbean Independence of the Sea. Like I'm sure if you didn't have that buffer of the Disney dream, it would have been like your opinions could have been very different. So consistency is kind of key sometimes.
And again, we're definitely, we look forward to just doing different cruise lines and different ships. And
different locations.
Yes, different excursions.
The fact that we can go to Australia now, I just want to start planning a California trip that goes into Australia from a cruise.
I'm definitely more interested in Alaska, I think, than Australia.
I think Alaska before Australia, but I think going to Australia would be cool on a ship.
Well, it's been fun to compare and contrast all of the different cruise lines.
Yeah.
I think we've been talking for about 2 hours now. And mostly talking in circles, comparing ships and cruise lines that maybe have no business being compared because they are that different in terms of the entertainment, recreation, service, food options that they have on all of the different cruise lines and the ships. But it was just fun to talk about and have just like this candid conversation, I think.
I hope we didn't come off as us giving like, this is our representation of this cruise line. Like I try to keep it pretty like personal opinion based off of our circumstances that maybe somebody else can use to make their own opinions about stuff, because even our opinions on our same experience were different. And I think it's important to know that like this is not how we think you should feel about these cruise lines, because everyone is going to have different opinions or the way that they like to experience their vacation or things that we didn't like. Somebody could be really excited about. And so I'm hoping that even if we felt like we were saying something negative about something, that is something that struck out as a potential positive to you. So even though I felt this way about something, if I made you excited about it because of how I felt about it, like that's important too. Like I felt this way about our service on the Disney Dream, but that clearly made some other people really excited when I saw it in the comments. And I think that influence is just as important because everyone's opinions are different.
Right. And again, we had positive, fantastic experiences on all of the cruises. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to, again, experience different cruise ships and different cruise lines. And I think that's been the most fun that I've had, is just being able to just, people may think that it's not fair to compare and contrast cruise lines, but I think that's like the fun of it that I've been having, at least personally, is just being able to see what's different and how each cruise line shines in a different way, because I think that's, well, we have the cats in here right now. Yeah, but I think that's just been the most fun that I've been having, is just being able to see what's different, and I've had a great time doing that. Mm-hmm. I think your like ending statement was better than mine, but you pretty much said what I like agree with anyway.
It's the point I was trying to come across it sounded better in my head than I felt like it came out of my mouth. But
I don't know, it sounded pretty good.
I was just like,
my sentiment. I was like, how am I gonna follow that? But she said it all.
I want to be informative, not opinionated, I guess, is like the closing statement.
I think so. And just cruising is fun, and I'm glad that you brought me out of my little shell a little bit. This isn't going to be like the exclusive thing that we start doing. I know that a lot of people are doing.
No, I think we're done with cruising for a little bit. I think our next goal is to go back to California.
Well, it's cool because like doing vlogging opens up a lot of doors in terms of just having the confidence and the reasoning to justify doing stuff sometimes. So if I didn't vlog these trips, I probably would be a little bit more relaxed and passive. I would probably be in the room a lot more and
because I like that.
Just sitting by the pool,
having an excuse to get taken out of my shell, because I very much will keep to myself, like want to maybe be more passive than active. Like I like that excuse to be like, you know what, I do want to do this thing, but I would not have encouraged myself to get up and go do it if I didn't have an excuse.
But that's what vlogging has helped with, is being able to justify like, okay, now we have to go to the escape room. Now we need to make it down to go ice skating, and we have to make sure that we do the rock climbing, and you know, we need to do the water slides, and we need to do the high ropes course and the roller coaster, and just justifying that by just having that kind of reasoning is nice, you know, and that may seem like it's being like encouraged and by this, like for the sake of recording it, which like transparency wise, it totally is, you know, it's like a reason to do something for the sake of recording it, but I still get to do the activity that I wanted to do. And it just kind of justifies being able to do that, you know. Does that make sense? I guess like I'm still doing what I wanted to do, but vlogging encourages me to like do more of it almost, to try to like fit it in and to really maximize that time and that benefit. Oh, we have a super chat from Gavin.
Oh, thank you.
Our biggest fan. So yeah, thank you so much everybody for joining us for this 2-hour discussion of our consciousness when it comes to our cruise line experiences. If we missed any particular activity or entertainment offering or food on any of the cruise lines,
we're only human.
I'm sorry, but just to be able to talk about it and just kind of put it all out there, because, and I anticipated this being sort of a reaction too, is just like as soon as we went on, you know, the Royal Caribbean cruise and I uploaded that first day, you know, we had a lot of comments that were just like, "What's the best cruise line?" You know, and it's just like, what? That's like a full on discussion, just kind of talking
subjective.
about all of them, because it is so subjective, and just again, they're all so different in different ways, and I'm sure that each cruise line and each ship in a particular class on that cruise line is going to be different. Okay, so thank you for joining with us today, talking about cruise lines. We appreciate it. I hope you had a good time listening to us. And this is me ending the live stream very well. I hope this sounded okay too, because I tried to do this like aggregate sound combination of these microphones, which are USB microphones, which it's not going to be the best quality, and neither is this camera. This is like a wide angle lens that I tried to do with this, but you know what? We're just having a conversation and having a good time. So after this, it's going to be back to regularly scheduled videos, but I just wanted to again do this live stream like right after our Carnival trip. So we have some fun Halloween activities planned.
Yeah.
And so get ready for that. So
hope we helped.
Yeah. Thanks for joining with us. Thank you for watching the videos. And thank you for joining this live stream. We will see you soon. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.
Bye.